For more than 25 years, the Amethyst Health Center operated in Manassas, Virginia, offering the false compassion of abortion to desperate women in and around Prince William County. Year in and year out, around 1,200 women walked through the doors and made the most unimaginably painful decision an expectant mother can make: to end the life of her child. And year in and year out, the local community showed up to storm heaven for an end to this evil, to reach out to the women in need, to bear witness. We did sidewalk counseling. We stood in life chains. We participated in silent prayer vigils. We gave material support to AAA Women for Choice, the crisis pregnancy center next door run by the intrepid Pat Lohman. These were our expressions of the corporal and spiritual works of mercy. Over those many years, it seemed to all of us that very little progress was made, but God was at work. In 2014, two of the most dedicated prayer warriors among us, Ken Groves and Brian Shaw, developed a relationship with the owner-operator of the abortion clinic. Reaching out to her in charity, they were able to learn her story and situation, and those heart-to-heart conversations opened the way for a possible shutting of the clinic. This, in turn, spurred a small group of Catholic entrepreneurs in the area to form a charitable trust, Blessed Virgin Mary Foundation, to try and raise money to purchase the clinic's real estate and assets. It was a delicate undertaking. The owner-operator was conflicted and afraid. The pro-abortion forces were laser-focused on Prince William County and abortion access. Speed and discretion were paramount, two attributes that don't typically go well together. But in God's impeccable timing and according to His good grace, on September 29, 2015, the sale was completed, and the clinic had been shuttered for good. In the Catholic Church, September 29th is the Feast of the Archangels. We couldn't believe it. It was almost too good to be true. After all these many years of faithful perseverance in prayer, to have them answered so suddenly and so completely was staggering. The joy and gratitude of the community was palpable, but there was more to be done. First, there was the immediate. The women in crisis wouldn't disappear just because we had the keys. They would still be calling, still need help. That much was certain. So, minutes after closing on the property at the lawyer's office, we forwarded the phones to our good friends at AAA Women for Choice and forwarded the old Amethyst domain name to the Crisis Pregnancy Center's website as well. We then arranged for a blessing and exorcism of the old clinic and all the equipment and furniture. The members of BVM Foundation wanted to do more than simply remove the false compassion of abortion from our community. We wanted to create a culture of life. So we started reaching out to others in the pro-life fight to see what might be possible. And that is what gave rise to the second miracle in this story. After many attempts, some good discussions but little movement, we found Art Bennett, then CEO of Catholic Charities of the Diocese of Arlington.
So I got a call from Sean Garvey, who is a friend of Jim Kerr, and Jim and I are very close, and I'd heard of Sean, and Sean wanted to talk to me, and Sean goes, "Art, I'd like to talk to you about a crazy idea that I have." Now, it certainly got my attention, but that's usually not how the church rolls. We don't chase crazy ideas, right? So I said, "Well, what you got, Sean? I mean, we have acquired a building that used to be an abortion clinic in Manassas, and we wonder if Catholic Charities might be interested." And I said, "We're very interested, but we're a diocese that has no Catholic hospitals. And I have to go through the board, and I have to go through the bishop, and there's a lot of stuff to do, but I am definitely, and we are definitely very interested." Now I should say, I lived in Manassas. I moved out here in '99. I knew about this abortion clinic. Found out talking to Sean, it had been going on for 24 years, a quarter century. People have been out in that parking lot praying for this. I knew that. And to hear that clinic had not only shut down, but the building had been acquired by some good Catholic folks, was to me a miracle right away. I knew enough to know this was unbelievable. But I also maybe, in my best part of me, knew enough to know that a quarter century of prayer, we should expect something bold to happen. God in His own time did make it happen. So we were very interested. My next task was to turn the excitement and interest into something that could be supported. I knew that was an uphill climb. No medical facility in the diocese, no history of doing this. No, medical care just brings everybody into risk management mode and all that. But nonetheless, like I said, I'm just going to go forward with this until something stops me or until we get it. And I was pretty confident the Holy Spirit would help on this, and it was just a great thing. The chairman of the board, Rick Kapler, was thumbs up right away. The CFO ran the numbers and all that, and he said, well, if you can get local support, if and only if you can give local support by the people here, it will work financially. I knew the Catholic power here. Well, the question is, can that Catholic power in mission turn to radical charity for the poorest of the poor? And the answer was, yeah, and BVM was created. Blessed Virgin Mary Foundation was created in effect saying, all right, we will help you get the resources to make sure this thing not only starts, but continues and grows and flourishes. I went to the board with that, went to the bishop with that, and we got approval. It was unanimous approval, by the way, from the Board of Catholic Charities. It was really great. Bishop already retired, Bishop Burbage came, and he immediately said, let's go for this, let's make it happen. So then part of the process, I had to talk to the Episcopal Vicar of Charitable Works, Father Bob Solinsky, on the board, a real key leader. And when he first heard about this, he was really excited. And I knew we had him because he goes, I said, what do we call it? How about Mother of Mercy Free Clinic? And I go, sounds great to me, Father. Let's call it that. And I knew then he was all in. And he knew somebody, because he used to be the pastor of All Saints. I know somebody at All Saints who's a great leader. I go, who's that? Alexandra Lovano. I said, oh, really? Okay, I'd like to meet her. And I interviewed her. And she has been a tremendous leader. I'll say, I think she's the best leader I've ever worked with in my, 40-some years of management.
I'm Alexandra Lovano. I'm the program director for the Mother of Mercy Free Medical Clinics. I became a nurse because I felt that that's what God wanted me to do. And I was working for a corporation, but I realized as I was doing this fancy job and traveling all over the United States that I was missing that serving God piece in my faith. And as I started praying and I asked God, I said, Lord, I need to serve you, and I need you to bring something to me. So I went to All Saints and I saw Father Bob Solinsky, and he saw me and said, hey, I just want you to know that Catholic Charities is opening up a free clinic in Manassas. That's all he said, and my eyes filled with tears, and I just started sobbing. So he said, wait, Alexandra, that doesn't mean you're getting the job. I just want you to apply for it. And I said, no, Father Bob, I'm not crying because I feel like you're offering me a job. I said, I'm crying because I know God is listening to my prayer. And you saying this to me truly answered that. And what led me here was actually thinking about the impact that I could make in a place like this. About 3 years prior to the clinic starting, I had worked with 2 doctors who we realized the medical need in this community was great. And I wanted there to be a place where they would be loved, where they could see that God loved them. Because in the rut of things, sometimes you forget that God is out there and God really loves you.
It was unbelievable. Just seeing not just the relief on the faces of the people that we were serving, but the joy they found in the staff and the people serving here, that not only were their medical issues being addressed, but they were being treated with dignity. They were being treated as people. There had been other free clinics that they'd gone to before, but this was really the first place that sought to see them as made in God's image and likeness and accompany them. Not just recognizing them as a problem or a cluster of medical symptoms, but as people.
It would be good enough just to bulldoze this place. That would be a good thing, right? But then to turn it into a place that's going to be a healing place, that just seemed way beyond comprehension. It may seem like you're piling on too many miracles. That's how I kind of felt. But again, you just keep going forward until you stop.
And so, on December 6, 2017, a little more than 2 years after the purchase of the clinic, the Mother of Mercy Free Clinic opened its doors and began serving the poor in Prince William County.
It just felt like the Holy Spirit was moving. Everything was aligning, and we thought this is a great opportunity, a wonderful opportunity for Catholic Charities to come in and do something remarkable. And we are so grateful for the incredible work that BVM and everyone involved have done over the years to pave the way to allow Catholic Charities to serve here in this place.
This mere mustard seed, once planted in the good soil of Catholic Charities, and with the help of the many hundreds of volunteers and donors from the community, has become a veritable tree.
That first year was a whirlwind, I should say. I never forget that I was told when I got the job that the clinic was going to be open for 4 hours a week for the first 5 years. So I knew that that was the plan, and God had other plans. And He clearly showed them to us because it wasn't only that we had an overwhelming amount of patients that were interested in the services, but the community came together and we had an overwhelming amount of doctors, nurses, specialists that were interested in volunteering. The first year went from being open 4 hours a week. Within a couple months, we were open 6 hours a week. Within a few months after that, we were open 2 days, and then 3, and then 4. So we went from this small thing that we were going to do for the first 5 years to this monster that God wanted to happen. And I think that when we make plans and we decide to do something, we don't always consult with God. And so I think He said, hey, you guys have this great idea, but I have this immense plan for this clinic. And that's exactly what happened.
And the most common thing about it was, I guess, kind of like the Gospel of Matthew principle. You start real small, mustard seed. And so that'll be hard. So it's funny, you go from nothing, but then when you open the door, it's going to be flooded. Most free clinics collapse because the clients just flood in desperately. And I heard that from so many people, smarter than me, from doctors, from physicians, nurses, say, be disciplined, start small, have a narrow gate, and let it build as the volunteers and donors come. If you build by the need, you will be crushed.
This is how God has worked through all of you to bring about the 30, 60, and 100-fold. The clinic opened in December 2017, open for only 4 hours a week with 10 volunteers. By last year, 2022, they were operating 80 hours a week in 2 locations, involving over 200 incredibly generous volunteers to deliver almost 16,000 hours of care to close to 1,500 patients across an incredibly broad spectrum of life-affirming medical services.
But it was a good blend between entrepreneurial and we got to be true to the faith and the way we do business as a Catholic entity. And it was a beautiful integration, I think. And then since Stephen's come aboard in the last 2.5 years, Catholic Charities just grows and grows. And could there be any doubt that the Holy Spirit would want to help the people here? And then we went in that living room and talked to the people in this neighborhood and these areas. Say, are you willing to? I know you just did a miracle thing. Can I ask you for more? Because that's always the way it is in the church, a nonprofit. You're just always asking for more, always asking for more. And they go, absolutely. And then here we are years later, and BVM has not only helped, it's been incredible help. And it's Catholic Charities too. I mean, almost many of the promotional materials talk about this clinic. Of course they do. It's a great story. It's an inspiring story. It's also one of the greatest integrations of charity and pro-life that I know of. It's one beautiful harmony of the church just making Christ be alive and happen. Yeah.
One of the stories that I vividly remember was a woman who was standing outside the clinic, hesitant, trying to decide whether she was going to come in or not. Like, I kept seeing her. I was in the front desk and just wondering what she was doing, but I was busy. When she finally came in, she signed up for services and we got her an appointment with the doctor. And when she went back to the room, one of the volunteer nurses took her back comes running and says, hey, she's sobbing. I don't know what's going on. We just took her back in the room and she's just crying. And so I ran in there, and the reason she was crying is because we had put her in the same room where she had an abortion a few years prior. It was that overwhelming pain that she was experiencing because she was reliving what had happened. So I immediately took her out of the room, took her to a different room, calmed her down, and discovered that now she was pregnant again. Since then she had the baby and turned her life around. But it was that change and that difference, where that place where she came once and experienced death and misery was the same place that now she was coming back, that was providing her love and healing.
I mean, this is classic of Alexandra. She wanted to give away food right from day one. Now, at Catholic Charity, we're food everywhere, 22 counties. We're an excellent program, St. Lucie program. She saw that right away. Once you establish this, then it's the needs to expand, but also the needs to be radically supportive of the whole person. There's a lot of talk about the whole person in the Catholic Church. It's hard to do. It's hard enough just to do medical care. But right, so a lot of a common thing, and then of course Alexandra says we should have a chapel here. We should have a chapel here. Really, you have to have a chapel right here. I mean, like All Saints is like a mile away, and no, we have to have a chapel right here. Oh, okay, I'll go talk to Father Lee Roos about that, and pastor at All Saints. He goes, yeah, let's do a chapel. I go, really? I'm not used to that kind of thing, because that means he's got a hall over here and all sorts of stuff. It's got to be approved by the bishop, and all that stuff went fast. So she kept seeing, to be able to do help the whole person, we must nail the medical stuff. But we can't restrict ourselves to at least the avenues of getting other people. So it's kind of, you don't want mission creep. This is a clinic, that's what it is. But then people would come in here, they'd stop at the exact room where the women that had abortions would recover from their operation before they went and faced the world. That room is now the chapel. Same model, except different result. Before they leave here, they can pray and reacquaint themselves with God. And then Alexandra added a little thing, and you go over here and get a bag of groceries. And so it's like the whole person.
The biggest thing of the clinic is our unwavering faith. Our faith that we know we ask, it might not come tomorrow, but it'll come in His timing. And it's just knowing that our faith would lead to provide His people with the services that they needed.
So I mentioned, under Alexandra's leadership, medical care is primary but not exclusive. This is a Catholic place, and we got a lot of input from people who wanted to have a place to pray. So then we approached BVM, as we do really with everything we want to do. Can you guys help us? And typical BVM, they got it right away. Yeah, we should have a chapel here. Let's make it happen. Let's start going out and getting the resources and the money to have a chapel here. So then when I go back to the board of directors, or I even go to the bishop, and I even go to Father Roos, that's always going to be the rub. How are you going to afford it? And because of BVM and the local support here, we could, and it's a first-class chapel. It's a beautiful place to pray. It really becomes kind of the center of the place. But this is another example where the response of the local community to what actually many would call an extraordinary request sees the Catholic perspective here and immediately gets in the hyperdrive and makes it happen. That was no burden on the diocese or Catholic Charities to do that. That's the kind of support that this clinic has gotten from the local community to serve people here in every way, body, mind, and soul.
We've had unwavering support from the Blessed Virgin Mary Foundation. I know that anytime we need anything, they're always there, no matter what. Just like when I called Jim and told him we needed the building next door, or when we needed an ultrasound because we were going to be starting obstetrics, and it was a couple months till the day that we started, and we needed to be able to perform ultrasounds if we were going to be seeing patients. Or the fact that we needed to renovate the building because we needed to have a chapel, a place where God would be present within the clinic. It is just amazing to have that unbelievable support. To have people that are not only there providing you funds, but also there because they really care about the people we serve. They're there praying for you and united with you to help you execute God's plan of service.
But even all of this is just a flyover look at how the clinics have blossomed under the leadership of Catholic Charities. Impressive statistics, but just statistics. The real stories, the real miracles are happening much more subtly, person to person, in the quiet work of you, the volunteers, bringing Christ to his people through service and love. The way this story began. And the opportunities to do more continue to reveal themselves as the work continues. Who knows what God has in store for us? All we do know is that there is plenty of work in the Lord's vineyard. One sows, another waters, but God causes the growth. As a BVM member, your monthly recurring gift, no matter how small, helps provide the good soil for this amazing work to take root. Thank you for that. It is our hope to have at least 1,000 BVM members signed up by the end of this year. We hope you'll spread the word so others can become an active part of this work of mercy and salvation. Become a member by visiting bvmtrustfoundation.org. Thank you very much, and God bless each and every one of you.
So, oh my God, God really blessed this place. So it's a wonderful story, a miracle story, and I'm just honored. It's a highlight of my professional life to have been a part of this. But I'm even more excited about the future of this place and what it can do.
Right after we started providing prenatal care, we had a woman that came in and she was meeting with our eligibility volunteer. And when she was meeting with her, she opened up and shared that, hey, I'm pregnant, but I really don't want this baby. She was so overwhelmed with her situation. See, the father of the baby just left her. She had no place to live, and she couldn't think of bringing a child into this world when she didn't have stability to provide for them. We immediately got her to see our doctor, and we referred her to pregnancy and adoption. She met with pregnancy and adoption and developed an adoption and a parenting plan. We referred her to other places in the area to provide her with some financial assistance as well. And I remember the day of the ultrasound. She walked out of there. She was excited, but at the same time a little bit hesitant, but decided that she was for sure going to have this baby. She just didn't know what she was going to do. At the end of the day, she decided to keep him. And just a few weeks ago, I saw her here at the clinic with her 4-year-old boy, very rambunctious and joyful. And she whispered to me and said, "Remember the day I met you? Remember, this is him. And now I can't imagine my life without him. Thank you." And that is a thank you to all of the donors and a thank you to all the volunteers that are able to make this happen. That is the reason why we are here today. It's because God wanted to save that life.